Boxes stack up on the porch like a countdown nobody warned him about, and Sawyer sits in his truck at the curb, engine off, hand still on the wheel. A U-Haul idles in his driveway, exhaust curling white in the October cold, blocking the spot where his own truck used to sit every night for 11 years. Somebody's playing music inside his house, loud. He watches a man he's never met carry a box marked Kitchen, Camille, up the front steps 2 at a time, grinning like he owns the place. A black Range Rover sits parked crooked behind the U-Haul, temp plates still taped in the window, the kind of car you buy to be seen leaving a restaurant in. Sawyer, Camille's voice from the doorway now, arms crossed, like she's the one who got surprised today. You weren't supposed to be back till 6. Job finished early, he says. It flat, doesn't move from the truck yet. Punch list only had 4 items left. Client signed off. Right. A pause. Too long. So, this is Calloway's helping me move some things in. Helping. That word does a lot of quiet work in her mouth. Sawyer finally steps out, boots crunching gravel, jacket still smelling like sawdust and cold air from the job site. He doesn't raise his voice. He never does. 11 years of load-bearing walls and permit inspections taught him that panic doesn't fix a house, and it wasn't going to fix this either. Move things in where, Camille? Here, she says, like it's obvious, like the ground under this house has always been hers to hand out. I told you this was coming. 3 weeks earlier, she'd told him over dinner he hadn't finished cooking yet. Standing in the kitchen, he'd refloored himself 2 summers back. New subfloor, leveled joists, the whole thing done right, because he never did anything halfway. I need you to go, Sawyer. No shake in her voice. None. Calloway's ready to move forward. I think we should be too. Just not together. He didn't argue that night, didn't raise his voice, didn't beg, didn't even ask a single question about the timeline. He just nodded once, packed a duffel bag, and drove to his brother's place across town, quiet the whole way there. Calloway had a way of talking that Sawyer's clients never did. Investment terms, portfolio talk, a phrase Camille had started using herself, building a bigger life. He drove the Range Rover to their old anniversary dinner once, uninvited, just to be seen dropping her off. Sawyer, by comparison, came home most nights in a truck with a cracked windshield he kept meaning to fix and never did, because there was always a client's roof or a client's floor that mattered more that week. He couldn't blame her entirely for wanting something that looked like more.
What he couldn't quite remember, driving away that night, was every piece of paper he'd handed her to sign over 11 years of marriage. Refinances, loan applications, contractor insurance forms, the trust paperwork his grandmother's lawyer had walked them through years back. He'd signed so many documents in his life that the details blurred. He genuinely wasn't sure, sitting in his brother's spare room that night, exactly what her name did and didn't sit on. If you've ever had someone rewrite the story of your own life and hand you the ending like it was theirs to write, tell me down in the comments. I want to hear how your version actually ended. Back at the curb, Calloway comes down the steps now, sleeves rolled up, sweat on his forehead despite the cold, entirely too pleased with himself for a man carrying somebody else's dresser. You must be Sawyer. He sticks out a hand. Sawyer doesn't take it. Look, man, no hard feelings. These things happen. They do, Sawyer says. Camille told me you two had this sorted, Calloway says, setting the dresser down on the porch, easy, confident, a man who's never once doubted a room would go his way. She wouldn't have had me pack up my whole place if there was a problem here. There's a problem here, Sawyer says. I don't need this from you. Camille's voice climbs now, sharper. She's already reaching into her bag, pulling out a manila folder she brought specifically for this moment. She'd planned this part. I have paperwork, Sawyer. I'm not just some guest here. She shoves it at his chest. Refinance documents, 5 years old, the ink long faded at the folds from sitting in a drawer. Read it, her hands shaking just slightly. Co-borrower, my name right there on the loan we took out for your business expansion. You had me sign this. You needed me to sign this. Sawyer looks down at the page, and for one long second, he isn't either. The memory of that afternoon at the bank is hazy, 5 years and 100 other signatures deep, and Camille's voice has the flat certainty of someone who's already checked. He stops himself, starts again, slower. I remember signing this. I don't remember what it means for the house. It means it's half mine. Something almost like relief crosses her face, like she's found the floor again after falling for a full minute. That's what a co-borrower is, Sawyer. She wouldn't have brought me here if she wasn't sure, Calloway says, arms crossed now, backing her up. Camille doesn't do things halfway. I'm calling my cousin. She's a paralegal. She'll tell you exactly how this works.
She does. Stands on the lawn with the phone pressed hard to her ear, pacing a tight little circle by the mailbox, voice dropping in and out. Co-borrower, refinance, he's saying he's not sure either. And whatever her cousin tells her, it isn't landing the way she needs it to. She says a mortgage document isn't automatically the same as a deed. Camille lowers the phone slow. But I signed it. I signed it, Sawyer. You signed the debt, he says, quiet. That's not the same as signing the house. What's the difference? Her voice cracks on it. What's the actual difference? The difference is the bank can come after you if the loan defaults. He says it gently, but he says it. It doesn't put your name on what we own. Those are two separate documents, Camille. I'm not even sure yet which one wins here. I don't remember. A car pulls up behind the U-Haul. Not fast, not dramatic, just a plain white sedan with a magnetic sign on the door reading O'Coffer Lock and Key. Camille had called ahead, before any of this, before the folder, before the cousin, back when she was still sure. Change the locks before the old owner gets any ideas. Roy O'Coffer climbs out with his toolbox, nods at the group, and asks the question he asks at every job, out of habit more than suspicion. Which one of you's on the deed? Company policy. Gotta verify before I touch a lock. Silence for just a second, the kind that has weight to it. That's me, Camille says, and her voice has lost most of its certainty now. I mean, us. There's a mortgage. It's complicated. Not really, Roy says, already pulling out his tablet, running the address like he's done 10,000 times before. He reads. His eyebrows go up just slightly. Huh. He turns the screen, almost apologetic. Says here it's held in a trust. Sawyer Whitmore? He glances up. That's you? That's me, Sawyer says, and something settles in his chest, a fact he'd been half guessing at, finally confirmed by a stranger with a tablet. Camille's face does something Sawyer hasn't seen in 11 years, the specific collapse of someone realizing the ground she'd been standing on, the paperwork she'd bet her whole afternoon on, was never actually under her feet. That's not the loan, she says, quieter now. I'm on the loan. The trust predates the marriage, Sawyer says, calm as ever, hands in his jacket pockets. Grandma set it up years before we got married. I genuinely wasn't sure the refinance touched it. Guess it didn't. Calloway looks between the two of them, the confidence draining out of his shoulders in real time. Wait, he says. Wait. Camille told me this was settled. You told me this was settled. I thought it was, Camille says, and for the first time all afternoon, she sounds like she means it. Nobody argues after that. Not really. There's a version of this where Sawyer raises his voice, where he gets one loud, satisfying moment of "I told you so." But that's never been him, and it isn't now. He just walks up his own front steps, past his own dresser sitting abandoned in his own driveway, and asks Roy, politely, if he could go ahead and rekey the locks after all. Good policy either way, Sawyer says. Never hurts to be careful who's got a key. Camille stands frozen by the truck for a long time, the manila folder still hanging loose from her hand, like it doesn't mean anything anymore. Calloway's already back on his phone, voice low, canceling something. Neither of them moves the boxes back inside. There's nowhere inside for them to go. 3 months later, the divorce is finalized. Clean, quiet, no dramatics, no lawyers screaming across a table, just paperwork that took time to sort out properly once Sawyer's attorney confirmed what the county records already had. He keeps the house. He keeps the trust. He keeps the name on every document that ended up mattering. Camille and Calloway spend 2 weeks in an extended-stay motel off the highway before they find something smaller, cheaper, in a part of town neither of them had pictured for themselves. The Range Rover gets traded in that spring for something more sensible. The U-Haul, it turns out, got returned the very same day it arrived, unloaded, empty, engine off for good this time, parked in a driveway that was never hers to begin with. Sawyer finishes the punch list on that renovation job the following Tuesday, signs off, moves on to the next one. He doesn't think about the truck much anymore, but sometimes, pulling into his own driveway at the end of a long day, he'll almost catch himself glancing at the spot where it used to sit, idling, loud, certain of itself, and he'll almost smile at how quiet that same driveway is now. His always was.